I'm not really even sure when my last video was. I know I was doing the front porch Fridays for a while and sharing my thoughts from there. I do have a front porch. It's just a new one. We've moved to Alabama since the last video. We had a little bit of a transition. We had about 6 months after we sold our last house to where we weren't really sure where we were going to land and wasn't really sure what that was going to look like at all. And we did some house sitting. We did life in the RV for a bit. And then finally in February, we found a house to live in. And it's been okay. Definitely made a purchase based more on emotion than logic. So here we are. There's a lot of things about the house that I love, but the things that I don't love, can't have chickens, can't store my RV here, don't have any land. So this is truly just a stepping stone to where our forever home will be. I know that we're not going to be here forever. It was just an investment perspective when we bought this house. In hindsight, if I was able to see what has been happening in the last couple of months, I probably wouldn't have done this and I would have gone straight to land. Ultimately, where we want to land is going to be East Tennessee, Knoxville, a little bit out of Knoxville area, even before Hurricane Helene. And we intend to still get there. That's where our hearts are happiest. That's where our souls are happy. We love the mountains. We just don't love the snow. So it's the next best thing to Idaho is Eastern Tennessee for us. So I think that's where we'll end up. So for right now, though, the reason I wanted to hop on is it's been a lot. We had Hurricane Helene like 10, 12 days ago. Now we have another Hurricane Milton coming. It's just so much devastation. It's so much sadness. I know that the Hurricane Milton has been upgraded to a Category 5 with a direct hit on Tampa. So that's going to bring even more devastation. And there's been lots of talk about what is and what isn't happening in Asheville in terms of support from the government. And I probably need to put my tinfoil hat on for that because people are going to think I'm crazy. But what I'm seeing on videos that you're not seeing on the news isn't good. It's not good. And it is kind of the reason why I have always said we need to prepare, right? We don't know what that SHTF situation is for us, but we do need to prepare. And yes, people have said, well, the people up in North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee lost everything, so prepping wouldn't have helped them. This is a true statement, unfortunately. But for those whose houses didn't slide down the mountain and those who have just had a few days without power that are on the outskirts, the prepping would have helped them. And so I don't want to have the mindset of, well, if anything ever happens to me, it's going to be totally catastrophic. And so I'm not going to put anything on the shelf. That's not my thought process at all. I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube and TikTok about the devastation that's happening. And I have a few favorite YouTubers that I follow, two that have been hit, one more so than the other. And it's interesting to watch the videos that he's putting out because the over the course of the week, right, where he was recording when it was happening and then recording the devastation afterwards, but he's kind of insulated, so he doesn't really know what's going on outside of their little bubble. And so today's video, he had a little bit of a realization of what was actually happening and how bad it really was, not knowing because they don't have power, they don't have internet. I think they've been going to town to upload the video, but they're not doing a lot of surfing the web while they're there to find out anything, from my understanding per his last video. And so he was just so proud to be from North Carolina. He was proud to be an American. He was loving the fact that everybody was coming together to help their neighbors. And honestly, I wish I was there. I plan on going. I'm waiting for a shipment from Healing Hands Foundation of hygiene kits. I'm going to bring those over as soon as they get here. And I want to help and volunteer wherever I'm needed in whatever capacity I'm able to do. My daughter is going to go with me, and we can dedicate a week or so to helping because it's going to be a really long process. This is not going to happen. I don't even think in terms of devastation, 9/11 and Katrina don't even touch what has happened with Helene in North Carolina and Tennessee. There are people who have lost entire properties, not just their houses, but their property is like gone. They have nothing to go back to. You can't even rebuild from that when your entire property slid down the mountain. And it's just, I don't think hello, Mama Couts here. It has been a very hot minute since I have been in this YouTube world, and the most recent current events have got me pondering some things and just want to do a little bit of a brain dump here and just share with you my thoughts, my feelings, just put it out there. So all that to say, I'm thankful that I've had that back stock of food. There was a time in 2016 where I got hurt. My husband was hurt. He was off work for 5 months. I was down with concussion for a week or two, down and out, like really bad. And so I wasn't able to work on my business. He was getting paid, but he was only getting paid like 60 or 70% of what he was making. And so that was a really good time for us to be able to dip into what we had backstocked. So all this to say, it's not just an end of the world as we know it situation. It's not a catastrophic hurricane or a tornado. It's everyday life that can happen to anybody at any time. And so that's why it's really important to have some food backstock, have water, have the batteries and flashlights, or maybe not have a lot of debt so that if you can't work, you don't have a bunch of credit cards to pay, or you don't have a huge car payment. These are just simple little things that have been popping up into my brain because I'm super thankful that we're in a much better position than we were. And when I was hurt and he was hurt, we didn't have credit cards. We didn't have a car payment either. So, and our mortgage was really low because of where we were living and whatnot. So, I was thankful. Today, a little bit different scenario. It would be okay. Not as ideal as then, but, again, I've got my backstock and we'll be fine. I would hope that others don't think that either. Like, to not put anything up in case of something, I guess is kind of the same mindset as, well, it's not going to happen to me, so I don't need to do anything. I don't know. So we do have space in this house that we're in now to put our preps. We have attic space, but we don't have nearly as much as we've had in the last two houses. So it's not tiny home living by any stretch. It's just not storage happy, and the attic space isn't insulated, so I can't put food out there. So I'm having to kind of rethink how that all works. And I'm being much more strategic that way. And obviously what we're prepping or what we're putting up makes a difference. We don't eat a lot of canned food. We don't eat a lot of processed foods really ever. But obviously if it comes to that, I will. I'm not going to not eat it just because it's not organic or grass-fed, or insert whatever fun word of the day is for what kind of food we can eat, right? Because everything has got problems with it in this day and age. So I do have a lot of Thrive food that I've stockpiled. I've been doing this now for 10 years, so I have a good stockpile made. So I'm very thankful for that because of the cost of inflation. I don't even know what it would cost to try and go through and replace all of what I have got in my food closet. Does that mean that because of inflation, it's too expensive to do anything now? No. And on my TikTok channel, I'm getting a lot of that. Well, it's too late. I don't have the money. I can't afford it. I barely can afford to feed myself. And that's another reason why I've always said for 10 years now, I'm like, if you know me, if you haven't done anything, I'm sorry, but it's not from my lack of sharing, right? So yes, buy an extra can or two of whatever it is that you normally eat when you're at the grocery store. And each visit, that adds up. Or if you don't really have the money for it, but it's the little things that you do spend money on, like your Starbucks runs, your McDonald's runs, whatever, don't do those for a month and use that money towards food storage and water storage and buy a few batteries and a flashlight. It's super basic stuff and it doesn't need to be a lot, but you just want to be self-sufficient in the first hours and days after something that happens. And for us, it wasn't even necessarily weather. I actually didn't even start putting food up until 2013. And it was 5 years before that we had our worst snowstorm in Idaho. And that didn't even register with me that, oh, I should probably put some food up. So it was after that. And then that was when I started putting food up. And so when things started happening during COVID, we didn't have to go to the store hardly at all, because I didn't, especially in those first few days where everybody was like, oh, we're all going to die. So that was like, of course, I'm going to like put stuff up, or not put stuff up, but not go out to go buy anything, because, the world is ending. And then slowly things started opening up and we realized what that really was. And I didn't dip into my stores and I replenished them. Trying to gather my thoughts, because there's a lot of them going on up in here and I want to be able to speak clearly. I was in Costco probably the day before the strike of the dock workers. And there was a lady who was stocking up to send food to North Carolina. And she said that her niece was there. She was okay. Their family was okay. They didn't have power, no water, obviously, nothing. And there was a 3-year-old little girl that was wandering aimlessly looking for her parents on that mountain. I don't recall exactly where they were. And my grandbaby is 3. She's almost 4. And I could just picturing her wandering around looking for her parents. I just started crying right there in Costco. And it made me feel kind of helpless. And so I want to go and I want to help in any way that I'm capable of helping. Because these people are going to need us for a really long time. They have each other. Appalachia is very well known for that. But they need us. They need the people that are not in the area to help. Because what really isn't happening is our government isn't helping. And you can go and do your own research and hear all the other stories about that. I'm not going to talk about that here. I'll just let you do your own research on that. So what was this video about? Kind of some ramblings, kind of some, get the thoughts out. I want to know if I'm alone in what I'm learning. I want to know what your thoughts are, what you would have for prepping. What would you do in this scenario? Like, I'm in an area where I get tornadoes. So we have stuff because of that. I lived where there was snow. And now here also where there's tornadoes, there's ice storms. So that's also a thing. My area was shut down for a whole week last January for ice. Or what about job loss, illness? The list is kind of long about why we should have more than 2 days or 3 days worth of food. The interruption of the supply chain with the dock worker strike, that could have been way more catastrophic than it was. So I just hope that you're taking care of you. I hope that you're taking care of your health, so that if you wanted to and was able to go to help in North Carolina, you're physically able to, right? These are all things I think about. So have a great afternoon, and we will talk at you soon. Bye.